You have been working harder than almost everyone you know. Longer hours, earlier starts, weekends sacrificed, emails answered at midnight. You are disciplined. You are committed. You are exhausted. And here is the number that should stop you cold. There are two people in the same industry, similar roles, similar experience, similar starting point. The first one works 60 hours a week. The second one works 35 hours a week. The first one earns $78,000 a year. The second one earns $94,000. More hours, less money. So here's the question this video is going to answer. Why does working harder make you poorer? Not because effort is wrong. Because effort, pointed at the wrong target, does not build wealth. It builds someone else's. The harder worker in that example is not failing because of lack of discipline. They are failing because of 3 lies they were taught and never stopped to question. 3 lies that explain exactly why more hours produces less money and what to do instead. The first lie: hours are the currency of success. Before we go any further, let me introduce you to the 2 people behind those numbers. The first is Kevin. Kevin is 43, operations manager at a logistics firm in Ohio. He has been with the same company for 15 years. Kevin arrives first. Kevin leaves last. His manager knows his name. His colleagues respect his work ethic. Kevin has been Employee of the Quarter twice. By every visible measure, Kevin is doing everything right. The second is Mara. Mara is 41, supply chain consultant in the same industry. She left a salaried position 3 years ago and has been building her own client base since. Mara works 35 hours a week. Not because she is less driven than Kevin, because she stopped treating hours as the unit of value. Keep both of them in mind, because every lie in this video plays out in the gap between their lives. Now, the first lie. Kevin's income is attached to his presence. His raises are calibrated to his tenure. His ceiling is whatever his employer decides a 43-year-old operations manager with 15 years of loyalty is worth. Kevin works 60 hours a week. He earns approximately $37 per productive hour. That number cannot grow without his employer's permission. It cannot scale without more hours. And adding more hours to 60 is not a strategy. It is a ceiling dressed up as commitment. Mara is not paid for being present. She is paid for solving a specific class of problem that her clients cannot solve without her. Her rate is attached to the outcome, not the clock. Mara works 35 hours a week and earns $94,000. That is $51 per productive hour. Kevin works 60 hours a week and earns $78,000. That is $37 per hour. Same industry, same experience level. Kevin works 71% more hours and earns 21% less money. Now stop for a second and think about your own situation. What are you actually being paid for? Is your income attached to the outcomes you produce or to the hours you show up? Because if the answer is hours, your ceiling is already set, and no amount of arriving earlier or staying later will move it. You are not building wealth. You are performing commitment to someone who has already decided what that commitment is worth. A surgeon who operates for 2 hours earns more than a technician who works 8. A lawyer who solves your problem in 40 minutes charges more than one who bills you for a week. A consultant who prevents a $500,000 mistake in one conversation earns more than an employee who shows up on time for 30 years. The market does not pay for effort. It pays for value. And value is measured in outcomes, not hours on the clock. You do not have to quit your job to change this. You have to change what you stand for in the room where decisions get made. Stop being the person who fills the hours. Start being the person who solves the problem. That shift, that single shift, is worth more than any raise you will ever be offered for working harder. Kevin is logging hours. Mara is delivering outcomes. Same industry, completely different financial trajectory. One of them is you right now. The other is the version of you this video is asking you to become. The bottom line: hours fill time. Outcomes build wealth. The second lie: effort is the same as leverage. Here is the second reason working harder makes you poorer. Early in Kevin's career, someone he respected told him, "Put in the work and the results will follow." Kevin believed it. Kevin has been putting in the work ever since. And here is what that advice left out. Effort applied to the wrong lever produces nothing. It does not matter how hard you push if you are pushing against a wall with no door. Think about your own week right now, not Kevin's week, yours. Where did your extra hours actually go? Were they building a skill that compounds? Deepening a relationship that opens doors? Creating something that generates value while you sleep? Or were they filling the gap that nobody else wanted to fill? Because filling gaps is what you have always done. Kevin's 25 extra weekly hours go into task execution, completing deliverables, filling requests, answering the queue. Kevin is extraordinarily busy. Kevin is also entirely replaceable. Because the work he does in those 25 extra hours is the work of a function, not a person. Mara takes those same 25 hours and points them somewhere completely different. 8 hours on deep skill development, building expertise in a supply chain software category that less than 4% of consultants in her space know at an expert level. 10 hours on relationships, not networking events, but focused one-on-one time with 3 decision makers who control large contracts. 7 hours on making her expertise visible, writing, speaking, creating proof of what she knows. Same 25 hours. Kevin's 25 hours produce output that resets every Monday. Mara's 25 hours build something that is worth more next month than it is today. Here is the question that should make you stop. If you disappeared from your job tomorrow, what would your 25 extra hours have built that continues to work without you? A skill? A reputation? A relationship? A system that runs on its own? If the answer is nothing, your effort has been producing output, not leverage, not wealth. Output. And output resets every single week. Output is linear. You do the work, you get the result, you do more work. The ceiling is your hours. Leverage is exponential. One relationship opens 5 doors. One rare skill positions you above 90% of the market. One piece of visible expertise generates inbound for years. Kevin adds 1 more hour of task execution and produces exactly 1 more hour of output. Mara spends 1 hour deepening a high-demand skill and permanently repositions her value in the market. Kevin's extra hour vanishes. Mara's extra hour compounds. This is not an argument against working hard. It is an argument for working hard on the things that actually multiply. You have 25 extra hours this week. The question is not whether to use them. The question is whether they will vanish by Friday or still be paying you back in 5 years. That decision is yours, and it is available to you right now. Busy disappears at the end of every day. Leverage compounds for the rest of your career. The lesson. Effort without leverage is just motion. Motion is not progress. The third lie. The system rewards the hardest workers. This is the third reason working harder makes you poorer, and the one that is the hardest to accept. Because it means the premise you built your career on was designed by someone who needed you to keep believing it. Who actually benefits when you believe that working harder leads to wealth? Not you. A company's single largest operating cost is labor. The ideal employee, from a cost efficiency standpoint, is one who works the maximum hours for the minimum additional compensation, and believes deeply that those extra hours are an investment in their own future. Kevin believes this. He has believed it for 15 years. He arrives early and stays late because he is certain he is building something. He just cannot quite name what it is. A reputation, maybe. A track record. Proof that he is ready for the next level. Here's what Kevin has actually built. Dependency. His employer now depends on Kevin to cover the gap that no one else will fill. Kevin has trained his entire organization to expect 60 hours from him at $78,000 a year. Giving Kevin a meaningful raise now would require his employer to admit they have been underpaying him for years. That conversation is not coming. Now ask yourself this, and be honest. Do you have a version of Kevin's situation in your own life? Are you the person your team counts on to absorb the workload nobody else will take? Are you the one who stays late because someone has to, and that someone is always you? If you are not building leverage. You are building dependency. And dependency is not a path to wealth. It is a trap that gets more comfortable the longer you stay in it, and more expensive the moment you realize you want out. The harder you work without building your own position, the more the system needs you exactly where you are. Loyal, available, affordable, not wealthy, useful. Mara understood this, and she made a different move. She did not work more hours. She built expertise that was genuinely difficult to replace. Rare, specific, in demand. When you become genuinely difficult to replace, the market corrects your compensation. Not because the system becomes fair, because the system becomes afraid to lose you. There are 100 Kevins in every industry. Loyal, hardworking, available, willing. And Kevin knows this somewhere, underneath all that effort. It is the low hum of anxiety that never fully goes away. The fear that no matter how hard he works, the next restructure could make him a line item that gets cut. That anxiety is not weakness. It is your instincts telling you that effort alone was never going to be enough. The question is what you do with that signal. You can keep working harder and hope the system eventually rewards it. Or you can start building the thing that makes you genuinely hard to replace, and watch how quickly the conversation changes. Mara spent 3 years building that position. The same 3 years are available to you. The truth: the system does not reward the hardest workers. It relies on them. Those are not the same thing. The closing: what to do instead. So here is the actual answer: why working harder is making you poorer. Kevin and Mara, same industry, similar backgrounds, similar ability. Kevin worked harder. Mara worked differently. 4 years later, Kevin earns $16,000 less and works 25 more hours every single week. That gap is not closing, it is widening. 3 lies, 3 reasons, 1 answer. When your income is attached to your hours, more hours does not mean more wealth. It means more of the same ceiling. Kevin proved it. $37 an hour, 15 years of loyalty. Same ceiling. When your effort goes into tasks instead of leverage, you produce output that resets every week instead of assets that compound every year. Kevin's 60 hours evaporate by Monday. Mara's 35 hours build something worth more every month. When your hard work makes you indispensable to someone else's operation, you lose the ability to negotiate your own worth. The harder Kevin works, the more trapped he becomes. The more irreplaceable Mara makes herself, the more control she has over her own terms. Starting this week, 3 moves. Audit your hours for leverage, not productivity. Every hour you worked this week, is it building something that compounds or producing output that resets by Friday? Write the honest answer down. Most people find it uncomfortable. That discomfort is the beginning of change. Find your highest leverage activity, the one skill, relationship, or area of expertise where an hour invested today pays back for years. That is where your extra hours belong, not in the task queue, not in the inbox, not in proving to someone else that you are committed. Stop measuring your value in hours. The market does not see your calendar. It sees what you deliver. It sees how hard you are to replace. It sees the outcomes attached to your name. Start building those outcomes deliberately, and your value becomes something no employer gets to decide unilaterally. There is a version of your working life where you are not running on empty at 55, where the effort you put in actually shows up in your bank account, not in someone else's quarterly results. That version is real, and it starts with one decision. Stop letting effort be your strategy. Kevin is still at his desk at 7 p.m. Mara left at 4. Mara earns more. You already know which one you do not want to be. The only question left is what you do tomorrow morning. Write this down. Work harder on the right things, or work less on the wrong ones. Either way, stop letting effort be your strategy.